What's up, Risers? Welcome back for another NFL team evaluation. Today we're going to be breaking down the Miami Dolphins. Before we get to them, go ahead and look down below in the description section, grab that Patreon link, go ahead and jump into the free Discord link, and hit that subscribe button for me if you'd like to support daily free content. Now, let's talk about the Miami Dolphins. Tua Tagovailoa. I nailed that in my first try, I think. I guess I'll check during the editing phase. But he is the new quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. Or is he? Ryan Fitzpatrick is still around, and I think there's going to be potential for Fitzpatrick to start the season due to the preseason uncertainties. We don't know what Tua is going to get as far as preseason training, summer camps, things like that because of this pandemic. And if Tua does not get the reps, the time with the team that most rookies do, I think there's a chance they just let him ride the pine for a little bit, grab some bench time, learn a little bit of the offense, kind of figure out the NFL landscape, and watch Ryan Fitzpatrick and that beautiful beard on the gridiron for a few weeks, potentially half the season. Who knows, maybe even the whole season. I think in the long term, we don't have to worry about the health of Tua. And I think partially is because I don't think he's going to start as the QB1 for the Miami Dolphins as soon as the NFL Week 1 comes around. He's a very talented player, and I do like his dynasty stock. He's currently my 11th ranked dynasty quarterback. That is ahead of some other quarterbacks who are already semi-established in the NFL, and that's because I think that this offense actually can start taking some steps forward with him implemented as the starting quarterback in 2021. This is a very long-term view of what Tua's stock will be. In the short term, I don't think you're going to get much out of him. He belongs on the waiver wire. Okay, we just talked about it. Ryan Fitzpatrick, potentially the starting quarterback to start the season for the Miami Dolphins. Had 3,500 yards passing last year and 20 passing touchdowns. Every single season, I feel like when I look at the final stats for Ryan Fitzpatrick, they're not as high as I thought they were. I think the legend of the beard is so much greater than the actual journey. And when you look at Ryan Fitzpatrick's statistics every year, they're subpar. They're conservative. They're nothing special. But every once in a while, he has those 4 or 5 touchdown passing games, becomes a DFS darling or a fantasy football spot starter, and he'll have some weeks like that again this season. I truly think so. For a full season look at his value, I don't think there's much there. He really is more gunpowder than actual gun. He's good at igniting the offense for short sparks, but for a long-term explosive type offense, he just doesn't have it. That said, he is efficient enough and he's a viable option for fantasy purposes to allow the rest of the offense to provide value, even though his won't be that high. Okay, so we kind of have a two-headed backfield situation here with Matthew Breida and Jordan Howard. Now, the projections I have for them are a little funky right now because I'm still trying to figure out the situation. Matt Breida is a very good pass catcher. He's actually a very good running back as well, but he cannot stay on the field, and he's shown through his career that he can't handle a big workload. He averaged 5.1 yards per carry in 2019. Jordan Howard had just 4.4 yards per carry last season. While that's not bad, it's nothing special. It's a little bit above league average. And I think that Matt Breida potentially offers the higher upside, even though I doubt he starts the season as the RB1 in this offense. I think he'll more or less be a between the 20s type rotational back and likely the third down option. I think Jordan Howard is going to get some of the most important stuff, and that's inside the red zone. Last year, he had 22 carries for 86 yards inside the red zone and racked up 6 touchdowns inside the 20-yard line. That's pretty solid. If you want to break it down a little bit more, inside the 10-yard line, he had 12 carries and 5 touchdowns. And if we go even further and look inside the 5-yard line, the guy had 8 carries inside the 5 and turned 5 of those 8 carries into touchdowns. That is extremely efficient work inside the red zone, and I think that's why he starts the season as the RB1. He can hammer it between the tackles. He's very good in short field situations, can score touchdowns, has a good nose for the end zone, but I think Matt Breida is going to bust a few of those really long runs. If Jordan Howard cannot protect whomever is in the backfield pass blocking wise, he's already shown through his career he's not the best pass catcher. And if he is not able to provide that offensive spark, Breda potentially could take over somewhere along the line throughout the season just because of those big splash plays, and they would flip-flop from like a 1A to a 1B or 1B to a 1A situation, in which case you're going to have up and down production from both of them throughout the season. All right, it finally happened. Devontae Parker looked like a stud last year. He was a top 5 wide receiver in every single format over the last 10 games of the NFL season. You heard that correctly. Finally, it happened. We've all been waiting for this. And in fact, he actually finished tied for 3rd in the NFL in touchdowns with 9 total. And he hauled in 72 receptions for 1,202 yards. It finally happened. It was a wonderful season from Devontae Parker. And I think we have a chance for much of the same this year with a little bit lower receiving volume. And I'll tell you why. I think the return of Preston Williams is going to eat into the value of Devontae Parker. Preston Williams, in just 8 games last year, garnered 60 targets. He racked up 32 receptions, had 3 touchdowns, and a little over 400 yards receiving. And despite playing just half the games of Devontae Parker, Preston Williams actually had just 4 less red zone targets. He had become kind of the primary red zone option when he was healthy and active. Another thing I think is going to ruin the shine on Devontae Parker's potential upside is the fact that if Tua is starting this year at any sizable capacity, I think the efficiency of the offense takes a step backwards from Ryan Fitzpatrick. While it might be a little bit more explosive, I think the efficiency is gone. And that's where you're going to get the abundance of targets. So those 128 targets he received last year, well, now we have the return of Preston Williams. We have the potential of Tua being in there, a little bit less passing volume potentially, and those 128 might turn into 110 or 112. And while that might not seem like a significant difference, 16 to 18 less targets at a 60% catch rate means 12 to 15 potentially less receptions. That being said, I have Devontae Parker just around wide receiver 19 through 23 across my 6 rankings that I have done through the fantasy football package on Patreon. Now, if you want to check that out in the description section down below, it's patreon.com/riserfall. There's a link there for you. Massive, massive content, 130 plus pieces produced for you for $4.95. It's very cheap. Give it a look. Now, the last guy is somebody I'm actually very excited about, and I'm kid you not. That's Mike Gesicki, man. He is a decent tight end, and I think he's on the rise. Last season, he had a pretty good year, finished with 51 receptions, nearly 600 receiving yards, and 5 touchdowns, just outside of the top 12 tight end type production, and I think he slides easily into the top 12 this year. If we see Tua end up being the starter this year, we see a lot of those rookies lean on the tight end position, and if that happens, we're going to get a lot more targets potentially from Mike. I think there's much more upside for those broken plays that Tua can create, and when those broken plays happen, you get a guy like Mike having a mismatch with a linebacker or a smaller safety in the open field, and you're going to get a broken play picked up for 20, 25, 30 yards from Mike Gesicki down the sideline, cross the middle of the field. That's where Mike's going to thrive. And if you look up some of his receptions from last year, he had some very athletic plays, some athletic catches, and he is much better than what you'd think. I think there's a lot of upside there. And I think for DFS purposes, spot starting for the tight end position, and if you're in 2 tight end type formats, I think that Gesicki is a great, great target. Now, the Miami Dolphins are not going to be a very solid offense. I think they will have some very good games where they step up, they play well. There were well-designed game scripts that help them do well. Maybe Tua has a few splash plays that open up the offense. You're going to have Devontae Parker get over the top of a defense, maybe catch a couple touchdowns here and there. All in all, I think it's going to be very inconsistent, much like the rest of the AFC East, to be honest. It's a lot of inconsistency, a few players here and there that have splash play type talent. There's nothing you can really rely on to provide you with league-winning potential. All right, thanks for checking me out today. I appreciate your support. Please hit that subscribe button. That helps me out greatly. It's a little click. That's all you got to do is click that sub button. By all means, go ahead and hit that notification button as well. And then anytime you see these daily videos, I have 32 team evals coming out and another 51 planned videos throughout the summer for all things fantasy football. Hit that notification button. Make sure you get all alerts for those and you can tune back in. Thanks for being here today. Thank you so much for your support. I'm humbled that you give me your time each and every day. Together, we rise or fall.